Hey there, Guildies. This is the Adventurers Guild. I'm Steve.
Still Jesse.
And we just watched the first 2 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Just like the rest of the world, because it was brilliant and it was amazing and it was so good.
Correct. And just like the rest of the world, we have waited a couple of days to put our opinions of the first 2 episodes online.
Because not everybody has an opportunity to watch it right away. And unlike some people, we want people to get a chance to watch it themselves and then hear other people's opinion on it.
AKA, we watched them on Friday, we got together to film on Saturday, I edited it on Monday, and if we're lucky, you might be watching this on Monday.
Yes. And AKA, me and Steve have been fans of the prequel since day one, okay? We're not like all the rest of you that jumped on the bandwagon. You know, Hayden Christensen wasn't that bad. We knew that from day one, okay? We knew that from day one. And how do I know that? Because we do.
We're being awfully aggressive.
I know. I was just, it bothers me because it's like you feel like you're ahead of the curve, and then everybody catches up with you. They're like, "Oh yeah, no, I've been there," and it's like, "No, you weren't." I was on an island by myself for years, getting made fun of, and now you guys jump on.
Well, I had my own island then, because I was laughed at all the time when I would tell people that the prequels were amazing.
That's what I'm saying. We met 10 years ago now.
Ish.
I don't remember. Point being, you were like, when one of our first talking, you were like, what do you think of the prequels? And I was like, oh, here comes another Star Wars fan that's going to be like, well, I didn't like it. But I was like, I think they're pretty good. I like the story. And you were like, thank you. And then we talked about it. I was like, it was amazing to meet another person. We're here to talk about Obi-Wan.
We're cranking to about 11, so let's dial it back to, let's try to make it an 8, dial it back to an 8. Okay.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
So good.
First episode opens up to Order 66.
Yes, a different point
I
of
was
view.
not expecting that, and boy, was that really interesting. I mean, so, in light of recent events in the world...
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, so that aside, because obviously it was a sad scene, and, we don't condone violence, blah, 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 obviously, but that's neither here nor there. That scene was insane. It was really, really neat in a sad way.
Yeah. It was interesting to see it from that point of view and just see that it was the sheer numbers of the clone troopers that were overwhelming the Jedi. Because one-on-one, a clone trooper doesn't stand a chance, does it?
Right.
You know what I mean? He just comes up with his little blaster and Jedi's like, move aside, please. Yeah, that was really cool to see that. I didn't even think of that. I should have had like a little public warning in the beginning. Like this was filmed a while ago. That's our bad.
I know you have a few points you want to hit, but I'm going to get this out before I forget. What's interesting to me is the dynamic that they presented Obi-Wan Kenobi in the first episode, because they went a similar route to the very divisive route they went with Luke Skywalker in episode 8. And I haven't really heard this talked about a whole lot yet. I mean, maybe people have on the internet other than us, but I haven't really heard it brought up at all from the videos that I've watched. He's down on his luck, disgruntled, doesn't like the Jedi anymore. He's given up his Jedi ways.
Stealing from work.
I mean, we essentially knew that was his storyline anyway. So maybe we were already pre-programmed to realize this. But they hit it on very similar story beats as Luke from a crotchety old man in episode 8. But yet it worked extremely well in this. My theory is because we were A, emotionally prepared for it, and B, because we got to watch 2 episodes back to back. And there's going to be a 6-episode arc that explains that and kind of, I'm assuming, brings him back to the Obi-Wan that we're used to. Whereas in like episode 8 with Luke, you went from the end of 6, 30 years of real time goes by, and all of a sudden he's this old crotchety old man who hates everything.
Yep.
So there was no preparation period. It was just like, this is what you think you're going to get, this is what you got. So...
It was like an opposite
The
arc.
dynamic is interesting, and I think it works. And it also kind of leans into what I've said to you in the past, that I think Lucasfilm is trying to redeem the Episode 8 Luke Skywalker by filling in the holes and making him look badass. He was badass in Mandalorian Season 2. He was badass in Book of Boba Fett. So I think that they're trying to make you understand why he becomes the way he is in Episode 8. But that was off topic a little bit, except for I addressed the Obi-Wan portion of it. But, FYI, you're up.
I want to say, I didn't have an issue with it because I got one thing to say, that's PTSD. Have you ever seen the PTSD YouTube video, Obi-Wan has PTSD, where they do the scene from New Hope, and why he's talking?
Oh, yeah, sure.
that was brilliant to me because it really looks like an individual that was going through that. So the fact that we see Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he really does have PTSD. He's having nightmares about that. And just seeing, all right, spoiler, and you shouldn't be watching this video if you haven't seen it, just hearing Anakin's name again freezes him into place. You know what I mean?
Last episode 2, but yeah.
Yeah, but point being, that's why I was fine with it, because I was like, that's, of course, that was the biggest moment of his life. Something he thought he had finished and something he's still living with at heart and everything. So I think, and I mean, this is just my opinion where I think the show's going. I think this is going to be him trying to bring Anakin back and failing.
Yeah.
And point being, I was okay with it. But the other point I want to point out was the little girl that plays Leia, amazing.
She nails the attitude.
The cadence, perfect.
Yeah.
Even the way Carrie Fisher talked, I was like, good for you.
The speech pattern, the attitude, it's exactly how I would imagine Princess Leia as a little girl. And that actually is another interesting thing. I expected to see a tiny bit of Princess Leia because she existed, obviously, at this time. Luke's brother, for crying out loud. It was the polar opposite. I was expecting...
She's
her sister, I mean. I was expecting to see more of Luke other than a distant shot. All we got was from the trailer.
Yep.
And instead, they went all in on Leia, and I was expecting her to have like a minute of screen time the whole season.
Yeah, no.
She's the main character for 2 episodes.
Yep.
At least.
And she's great, which made me laugh because, and this is the other point I want to make, she was incredible. That actress, I don't know how old she is. She says she's 10 in the series, so we'll say the actress is 10. Really good. That Jedi we meet in the beginning that goes to Obi-Wan for help, whose nephew are you? He was terrible. Like the most stilted, I need your help, Obi-Wan. Please, no, Steve, don't defend him. This is Star Wars.
I don't think the acting was bad. I thought the way he was, I guess, directed to be played, I thought was a little off.
Maybe that was it, but I thought, ugh. Especially going from like Leia to him, and I was like, ugh.
Well, he got killed, so.
I know. I told my wife, I said he got killed off screen because they probably filmed it and he overacted it, like, But yeah, no, I was really, the first episode in general, I was fine with.
You know what's interesting? He gets killed. They hang him, but they didn't hang him. You know what I mean? Like, clearly he was going to be hung. Yeah. He's probably hung in the script.
Yep.
And then Disney or Kathy Kennedy looked at the dailies and they were like, "Yee, you know what? Take the noose off his neck and put it on his body."
Yeah. He's just wearing white.
So first time I've ever seen somebody killed and then strung up in town for everyone to look at where it's not around his neck.
Yeah.
It's like, let's kill this man, but let's make it a little bit more palatable.
Yeah, especially I was watching it, and I'm watching it with the kids, and you see the legs dangling at first. So I'm like, and it was funny you mentioned it, I thought to myself, man, this is dark. And then it cut away, and I was like, okay. Yeah.
Murdering kids in the first few minutes, acceptable.
Yes.
Hanging an adult in town in the middle of the episode, that's where we draw the line.
It is a completely different thing. It's funny that you mentioned it. It reminds me of one of my favorite episodes of the Batman animated series where Barbara Gordon dies, and she falls on top of the police car, and the producers were like, you can't show that. So they changed the angle so it was inside the car and you see her body fall. And they're like, yeah, we're okay with that. And the director was like, that's so much worse. That's so much worse. But it does remind me of that. But I love you. No.
I cut down the rose bush outside, and I'm really sweaty. It's 92 degrees outside. I needed some juice, so orange juice. Continue.
Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan, he's just so brilliant. We had this discussion Saturday on why I think it's okay to recast characters, and he's the prime example because he's our definitive Obi-Wan now. He's just incredible. He still has that character down. The one thing I liked about Force Awakens is when Han Solo showed up, it wasn't Harrison Ford coming back. It felt like this was Han Solo 30 years and still in the franchise, and that's exactly what it felt. Like a continuation of Obi-Wan 10 years later, this is exactly what he would be doing.
Yeah.
How he moves and acts. And even the line that was in the trailer that was in the episode when he's like, when the time comes, the boy must be trained. And for Owen to look at him and say, just like you trained his father, we all in the house were like, ooh!
Yeah, that's rough.
Oh, sick bird.
Yeah, sick burn.
But yeah, no, I was severely impressed with it. I've heard some people say that it's a lot of build up, so it better pay off. But I'm like, to me, the payoff.
Episode 1 is build up, but episode 2 was a lot of action.
To be honest, I would literally be okay with it ending at episode 2, just to find out that's how he found out Anakin was back.
Yeah.
And then end it, but to know that I'm getting 4 more episodes, I'm
The
good.
next one on Wednesday.
I know, I'm excited.
Only a few days between the first 2.
Yep.
All right, so we're huge Star Wars nerds, so we're already stretching this out pretty far. So episode 1 is all set up. You know, they introduced new characters, old characters. They introduced the Inquisitors. Sort of introduced the Inquisitors. And obviously, we had Rebels and things like that, the cartoons. But they live action introduction of the Inquisitors, which worked really well in live action. The third sister, I think, is a cool character.
Yep.
I know a lot of people were worried about her on the internet, but I think she's really neat.
People are worried about everything on the internet.
That's true. So now, Obi-Wan, he for not to sound crass, but he nuts up and he gets on the transport ship.
After getting his lightsabers up, and the fact that you got to see Anakin's with his, I was like, whew.
Yeah. My wife said he remembers exactly where it was in the sand. I said he's the one who buried it.
Yeah.
She's like, but look how much sand there is. I'm like, well, that's a good point.
It gets everywhere. It's so coarse.
Yes, I know. High five. That was good.
Thank you.
That's definitely not getting cut. All right. So episode 2. This is where the show starts to kick a little bit into higher gear because it's a rescue mission. It's a chase episode. Yep. It's a mystery episode.
And if you ever were curious on what the Red Hot Chili Peppers look like in outer space,
Flea.
Yeah, there you go.
Correct.
Right there.
Or Dinesh from Silicon Valley.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
Who plays a hilarious role, which it took me about 3 seconds to realize that he was a fake Jedi and he was just, stealing people. Well, not stealing money, but he was helping people, but at the same time doing it in a really weird way.
Yes.
Anyway, almost like if one of his older characters from a different show, he just imported it. He just imported the character. But I thought it was cool the way it was handled, and I thought that was very interesting. Anyway, so he obviously rescues Leia. Although after the whole Breaking Bad montage where he's cooking up some spice, and he even drugs the guy. Well, he had no choice to escape or whatever, but he drugs the 3 kidnappers. I thought that was really funny and clever.
So it just reminds me of when Luke is like, Uncle Owen said my dad was a flyer or a spice flyer or whatever and everything like that, and then it cuts over to Obi-Wan going, he told him your dad was a drug dealer. That's exactly what it was now. But I enjoyed the action. I also like the fact that I don't think he lacked the skills to get her out immediately. I think he lacked the faith in himself. I think it has been probably 10 years since he cut himself off the Force.
Well, yeah, lack the skills is one way of phrasing it, but he definitely is disconnected from the Force because he had a hard time rescuing Leia when she fell, and you can tell by the way they shot it and the way it was presented. Like, if this had been 10 years ago when she would have fallen, he would have grabbed them. He would have grabbed her with the Force instantly and brought her back up. But in this particular instance, she fell 20, 30, 40 feet.
Yeah, he caught her
before he was able to slow her down. Not even bring her back up. Slow her down and lay her down. And you could tell it was stressful for him.
Yep.
So I guess like with the Force or whatever, if you cut yourself off or whatever and you don't practice it like anything else.
Yeah, it takes a minute.
The skills kind of get a little rougher around the edges or whatever.
Yeah. I agree, because even when the guys were jumping in, they were like, I can't believe you're the Obi-Wan and blah, 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 and I didn't think Jedi's bled. But, either way, great show. Good job, Disney.
Anything else from episode 2 before we give this a wrap?
Like I said, really love the fact that even just mentioning Vader and Anakin still alive. I love the idea.
Oh. Okay, continue. You said Anakin. Okay, go.
I love the idea that it has been explained in comics how Obi-Wan found out that Anakin survived, but I like the idea of seeing it in live action for the first time.
Yeah.
And I always did wonder how he went from he was heartbroken what he had to do at Revenge versus in A New Hope. He was just like, you're not but a master of evil now, Darth. So I'm wondering if the show will show how he was like, there's no bringing him back. It's over. So curious.
They showed Anakin at the very end.
Yep.
For a few seconds?
Yes.
Horrifying looking.
He was.
Yes.
Yeah, haunting.
Yes.
Hayden Christensen, I've loved you since day one. I love you, man. I know what you were doing. Okay? Stoic. It makes sense. You got all this emotion. You're married. You got a baby on the way. You're a war hero. How are you going to reflect that? You hold it in. You hold it in. And I get that, man. I know what you were doing. I knew what you were doing in 2005. You're brilliant to me, man. Thank you for coming back. Because he knows. He knows.
Okay, for the Avengers Guild, this has been our hot take of episodes 1 and 2 of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm Steve.
Still Jesse.
And we will catch you guys in the next one.
Okay. I'll see you. The next one's over there.
Oh. Hey.